After getting dozens of comments, DMs, and messages every single day about questions about your guys' ad accounts, Shopify stores, so on and so forth, I decided to record this video to answer some of your most commonly asked questions in this Q&A. So if you're new to the channel, you don't yet know who I am. My name is Justin, and I'm the founder at paidadvertising.com, an e-commerce growth firm, having worked with over 70 partners in the last 3 years and having spent over $12 million profitably on ads. And with that being said, let's get into today's Q&A video. So one of the questions that I got asked on Instagram actually was, did you use Facebook automated rules to scale? It's a very good question. So we only do so with bigger ad accounts. So right now we have a couple ad accounts that are spending over $5,000 a day, which to me, that's when I start saying like these are bigger ad accounts. Any ad account I'd say is spending less than $100,000 a month. We don't really use rules. We don't really need. We can check the budget every couple of days and it's not, really dramatic to the business. Whereas an ad account spending, let's say $5,000, $10,000 a day, just a couple hours sometimes of not really looking into the account can be catastrophic to the business, right? You can lose thousands of dollars. And it's the same thing, right? There's a checkout issue in the back end as an example, or something happens with the website that really impacts you negatively. And you have to catch these quite quickly. So we do set rules for these. Typically those are rules to either scale giving campaigns their ad set by 20% if they're above a specific target, or to descale them if they're below a certain target. So think of it as like trading, right? When you have like a stop loss essentially to negate that downside. And also very important for these bigger accounts, given that our team is out of office typically during the weekends. So if they're out of office during weekends, we still want to make sure that we're not fucking up on an account. And the best way to do that is with rules. So that's it for the first question. Now, second question I've got right here. Did you use the same ad structure for both Facebook and TikTok? The answer is yes. So the terminology is slightly different. On TikTok, essentially, they call those smart ads, I believe, whereas now on Facebook, they're called dynamic creative tests, which is also slightly at a different level. On TikTok, it's at the ad level. On Facebook, it's at the ad set level. But all in all, our structure is very similar on both of these platforms, which also allows us to easily use the same creatives made for TikTok to be using them on Facebook and vice versa. So allows us to make a better life if you want out of these ad creatives. Now, third question is, what do you think of Professor Charlie? Well, I think I'm getting this question also a lot because of the DCT model. I know a lot of people now on YouTube, like Nick Therio also is talking a lot about that, are speaking of DCTs. And I think this is a model now that's getting more and more commonly adopted because we're also getting fed the same information from Meta. So I don't know about all of these other guys, but as Meta badge partners, we have access to these like quarterly events, the Meta Agency Summits. And the latest event that I attended, essentially, they talked about broad pretty much the entire time. Like, here's how to, the best practices for broad targeting. Here's how to use Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. Here's how to open up your targeting pool. And now they came out also with the recent blog post that was recommending the ideal audience size needs to be above 2 million people. So you're like, well, there's no way to do that if you're not going broad, honestly. So that said, I think Professor Charlie was really early on that trend. I think he even created pretty much that trend about really going broad using DCTs. He understood that very early, and I've got nothing to say but respect for his advertising strategies more specifically. I think there's a lot of wisdom into what this guy says, but he's also quite controversial. I mean, on Twitter, I think he loves to kind of get into these debates with a lot of people, which I think is very interesting sometimes because it does bring polarity to specific topics and debates. So yeah, I'd say he's an interesting character, but also has a lot of wisdom in his advice. Now, fourth question I've got is, with limited budget, what platform would you recommend to start with? So it's a pretty good question. I'd say 99% of you guys, I'd start with Meta over TikTok for two reasons. And that is, it's a very complicated answer. I'd say for some of you, I'd say Meta. For some of you, I'd say TikTok. I'd say why. I say Meta because looking at the e-commerce space as a whole, there's about 60 to 70% of the total industry's ad spend that is put towards Meta. There's a reason why that is. It gets some of the best ad results out of every single ad platform. I have a separate video on that talking about my 2024 e-commerce predictions, where I was analyzing 2023's report from Triplewell, hundreds of pages of report, over 11,000 stores, $1 billion in sales analyzed, and Meta is still the leading ad platform out there. So that's why I'm telling you, start with Meta. For a fact it's like a secure bet. It's like a blue chip platform. But, and I'm throwing a but in there, TikTok in itself is rising. It had the biggest uptick in ad spend attributed to it this year. It also had essentially very decent CPMs. It had very different CPA. But, I'm throwing a second but, it has the lowest AOV out of every paid social ad platform out there. By far, it has less than half the AOV of the runner-up platform, which is Snapchat, which is sitting at 88, I believe, dollars, whereas TikTok is sitting at $42 average order value on the platform, which is very low if you think about it. I think TikTok is great for impulse buying based product. I think TikTok is great for drop shippers. I think TikTok is great for anyone who has, these lower tier products or is able to craft a lower tier product offering specifically for TikTok. I think you're gonna be good with it, but you need this virality aspect. You need to have something that you can hook people with. You need to be able to be funny with your brand. If that doesn't really fit your brand, TikTok becomes a little harder, right? You either need to be trendy, you need to be controversial, you need to be funny in order to really crush it on TikTok. So if you can be either one of these three, go for it. But if you're like a really serious brand and whatnot, it's gonna be a little harder, honestly, to hit it out of the park with TikTok. Now, this next question is the following. For a client, when I want to scale winning ads, if the current budget is $100 a day, do I simply increase that budget to $120 a day now? So how we scale is we'll typically look at the previous day. So as an example, today we are Friday at the time of recording this video. So I would look Friday morning, I would look at my Thursday. How was my Thursday? Was Thursday above or below KPI? If it was above, essentially what I would do is I would just scale up my budget by 20%. So if it was $100 a day yesterday, I would put it to $120 a day today. And then tomorrow I would repeat the same thing. Was yesterday above or below KPI? And then you can kind of play with that. That's if you really want to have like a tight grip on scale. For some businesses, you might have such a low budget, or you might have a longer buying cycle where you can afford to wait 3 to 7 days perhaps to make these budget changes. But the rule would be the same. You look, let's say today, I would look at the last previous 7 days and I'd be like, is my 7-day period above or below KPI? If it's below, I downscale, so on and so forth. Also, most businesses will have kind of a minimum cap on ad spend, if that makes sense. Like they'll want to spend at least 10 grand a month in order to keep the business afloat, and you have to make it work at a certain level. It's like you can't really descale that much. If you start descaling too much, then it's because you're doing something wrong with the ads. The ads have to be performing better. It means your ads aren't strong enough. Now, this next question goes like this. What is an example of ad that are top of funnel ad creative for static images? So basically it's true that a lot of the time you'll see statics being used mostly at bottom of funnel ads, right? Like more solution aware, product aware, in fact, even most aware. You can still make a static for an ad that is unaware, as an example. So an unaware ad would be like 3 tips as to why you should change your deodorant, or 3 facts you didn't know about your current deodorant. That's like an unaware ad. And you could bundle that up, let's say, within a static, right? So the things about facts you didn't know, things you need to learn today. Did you know that all of these style of ads can be done quite effectively in a static and pique the curiosity, essentially, of the reader? But truthfully, top of funnel ads, especially when it comes to education is done better with the video most of the time. But again, these ads that I just talked about, like the factual type of ads, can be done with a static. The third question is, do I need an agency ad account to run ads for my e-commerce business? If you guys don't know, there is a difference between a regular ad account and an agency ad account. So there's a lot of agencies out there that sell agency accounts, which the difference between an agency account and a regular ad account are the following. One, you get no ad spend limit on a day-to-day basis. So let's say you are a new business. You just received $1 million in VC funding and you want to spend $30,000 a day on ads because you want to spend all of that $1 million in a month. I'm throwing random numbers. You would not be able to do that with a new ad account. In fact, it'll take you months before you can spend $30,000 a day. So you can't physically do any of that. The only way to do so is with an agency account, because with a regular ad account, you'll be capped at $25 a day for about a week, then to about $50 a day, then to $100 a day, and then it'll keep going up slowly but surely. But it'll take you months, even perhaps years in this case, to reach 30K a day. So with that said, it's one of the reasons why you want to get an agency account. A second reason is if you're in a gray hat industry, you're selling CBD based products, or you're selling things that are related to sex, as an example, or whatnot, and you know you are playing on the line with your ads. Well, if you don't want to risk having an ad account being banned, or in fact have your entire page or business manager being banned, get an agency account. They'll tell you if you can or can't run certain ads. And if you ever get your ad account disabled or too many ads rejected, they're able to, because they have an internal line at Meta, they're able to get those ads back up within about 24 to 48 hours. And I say Meta, but it would be the same for TikTok, Snapchat, or Google agency accounts. So short answer, no, you don't need an agency account. In fact, most of you, I'd recommend you don't get an agency account so that you own the data. But in a lot of cases that I just mentioned now, you may need to get an agency account, and you're gonna have to make do with it. Now, this next question is quite interesting, is what is the most optimal average order value and product margins to optimize for to advertise on Meta. So it's very smart because that's a business owner that's probably trying to optimize their unit economics. So the average order value on Facebook over the last Black Friday Cyber Monday period, observed by Triple L across $1 billion in sales data, was, if I recall properly, about $92. So that gives you an idea of what is the overall industry's average order value on Meta, about $92. Now, when it comes to product margins, I always say 30% MER is what you need to aim for on an evergreen basis, 20% MER in a promotional basis, which means you should be able to afford spending about 30 cents for every dollar you make. Optimize your margins to make that work, essentially. Be able to comfortably spend a 3-to-1 ratio, essentially, on your average order value. So in this case, if your average order value is about $92, just round it up to $90 based on Meta's average, you should be able to comfortably afford to spend about $30, essentially, to acquire one of these customers, which is, it would come down to 3x ROAS if you look at it, but I'm not talking about platform ROAS, I'm talking about blended ROAS. So that means you need to have decent organic, you need to have decent email and SMS and loyalty, etc. Because it is, for every dollar your store makes as a whole, you should be able to spend about 30 cents of that on marketing. Now, this is also quite an interesting question. When making DCTs, should I be putting both images and videos within a same ad set? First and foremost, you can't. Okay, I'm just letting you know you can't when you do a DCT. It's only photos or videos. But second of all, I'd probably say even if you could, you probably shouldn't, because now you're testing too many variables at once. You're testing a different creative type, and you're probably testing different elements, because there's no way a video would be the same as what's in a static, right? You'd have to make the video different. It'd have to be a hook and a different structure. So you're probably testing two different creatives into a same DCT, and it would have worked. But if you're not doing DCTs and you're going with a regular ad set, let's say you have your main ad set of winners, now that you've had a couple winning DCTs, yeah, of course you can have like different photos and videos within a same ad set. It doesn't really matter. Now, this next question goes like the following. I'm confused. I'm using broad plus DCT method. Now, the brand I'm working with doesn't have a good backend system like email and SMS marketing. Should I be running retargeting campaigns with like a discount ad to get customers to come back and purchase? In this specific scenario, I'd say yes, you could, because the brand, as you said it yourself, doesn't have great backend systems. If you're a new brand, you don't yet have email and SMS, sure, you can run retargeting. But at scale, I would recommend that you start going more towards broad in general. I don't really filter out retargeting from new customers. In fact, we want to make sure that we open up these audiences. I typically don't set exclusions for the bigger brand nowadays because they've had these backend systems. So the answer to your question lies within that statement. Backend systems is, if a brand has proper email and SMS marketing, then great. No need to do retargeting. If they don't, because they're too small, sure, you might want to capture those low-hanging fruits by doing retargeting ads, but never spend more than 20% of your budget on there. And if you made it this far and you are an e-commerce brand owner wanting to partner with a paid ads partner like paidadvertising.com, and click the link down below to book in a call to speak with our team. Since we're Meta, Google, and TikTok badge partners, and we love to help you run ads for your business. On that note, I invite you to check out other videos of the channel for some more useful marketing tips, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Peace.